Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop Virginia. I'm Bettina Lawton, and I'm your host. And everybody knows that in May of every year, we do a veterans show, and this is it. Memorial Day this year is on May 30th, and so we hope you will all be celebrating and appreciating the veterans who are in our midst. We have with us tonight two gentlemen from the Veterans of Foreign War. To my immediate left is Aaron Coffin. He is the commander of Post 8469, which is in Fairfax Station. And to his left is Gary Kelch. He is the commander of District 10, which includes, what, 8 or 9 clubs, Gary? How many are in District 10?
10 posts between Leesburg and Dale City.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the VFW, and let me introduce Gary more fully. He retired from the Navy in 2007 after almost 20 years in active and reserve forces. In 2008, he joined the VFW Post 7327, which is in Springfield, and he served as post commander from 2010 to 2014. Because he couldn't get enough of it, he became the commander of the District 10, and he continues to be the commander of District 10 until July 1.
Correct.
And he is a program manager at the Naval Sea Systems Command in D.C. Aaron Coffin served in the Army from 1994 to 2004 as a military police officer, so I am on my best behavior. He is the commander-elect for Post 8469 in Fairfax, and he graduated last year from George Mason University and is currently managing the camping department at REI, a great store. So let's talk VFW. Gary. So what is the difference between, we have two veterans holidays in the United States. We have Veterans Day and we have Memorial Day. So what's the difference? Why don't we just have one?
Right, and a lot of people do mix them up. Memorial Day is a day to honor our fallen soldiers, those who died in battle, where Veterans Day is the day to honor past service or retired military members. And one of the holidays that gets missed was just this past Saturday, which was Armed Forces Day.
Oh.
That's the day where we take to honor those who are still in service.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that. I didn't realize there was a third holiday.
It doesn't get its own mattress commercial, so people don't really pay attention.
No big sales attached to it, so nobody knows.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, the other thing that a lot of people don't know what they are those little paper red flowers that, you distribute out in front of the Giant and places like that. So what are those things all about? What is that?
Well, to the VFW, those are buddy poppies.
Okay.
The history of the poppy comes from World War I. It was on the battlefield on Flanders Field, Belgium, where our people died on that battlefield. They buried them right there on the battlefield. And when they came back later that year, there were poppies growing on the graves. A Canadian military officer who was present was moved by this and wrote the poem On Flanders Field. And since that time, we've been using the poppy as our memorial flower for our fallen soldiers. The VFW has been distributing poppies since 1922, and the poppies themselves are assembled by the patients in VA hospitals and care facilities. And the donations that we receive as we're distributing the poppies go to either the post-relief funds or are paid to the veterans for their work in assembling them to give them a stipend.
Oh, nice. So they're donations. So when people come up and say, how much are they? The answer is whatever you feel like giving?
Correct. We don't sell poppies. We offer poppies because it's an honor to honor our military Memorial Day, our fallen soldiers. If donations are offered, we will certainly accept them, but it is not required.
And there's no minimum ask donation?
No.
Nor is it required at all?
Okay, so anybody can have them, and the idea is don't leave them in your grocery cart, stick them on your lapel. It's something to be visible, to remind people that this is Memorial Day and to honor the dead. Okay, well let's talk about the VFW itself, because it's been around forever. I read someplace that it was like the oldest veterans association or something. But why should somebody join it? There's a lot of things to do in this area. That seems like just one more thing to do.
Well, there are many reasons. One is camaraderie. to be able to associate with those who had a similar service that you had, where you can share experiences. But another one is activities. I mean, there are motorcycle riding clubs that are organized out of the posts. There are outdoor activities. Many posts have their own building where they have functions. And, you know, just like any other organization, we have special deals on anything from haircuts to insurance as discounts to members. So for an individual to join, that's usually what motivates them.
And so what's the difference between joining the VFW and the American Legion then?
The American Legion is open to all members who served during a time of war. The VFW is open to those members who served in war, in battle, in conflict, expeditionary mission.
Okay, so not everybody who's in an American Legion could qualify to join a VFW then?
Correct.
Okay. So I did some reading on the VFW and was amazed to find out that a third of your members are over 80. And while longevity keeps increasing, that's kind of old. There's been sort of a drop in membership, probably because of the ages over the last several years. So what are you? You're a commander of a post. You're coming in to be the commander. Mm-hmm. What are you doing to recruit members? How do you get them to stay?
The biggest thing is engagement. One thing that I found that works really well for us, and where I actually came from, is George Mason University, which is actually right down the street from our post home. Mm-hmm. And engaging them and letting them know that there is a place where, you know, you can come for camaraderie. You can actually come, and I guess one of the things that you miss most once you get out of the Army is that like-mindedness. Mm-hmm. You can always find somebody who has shared experiences. And the biggest thing is engagement. Gripping and grinning, you know, gets them in the door, but then, you know, you get them involved. And you actually, you know, get them to participate in post events. Like the 4th of July barbecue is always a big one, mm-hmm. but also the Buddy Poppy drives. You know, that need or that, you know, urge to serve doesn't go away when you put your uniform in the closet. Okay. Like-minded people and just a continued mission.
Now, the 8469, post 8469, is also the VFW post that's in the 4th of July parade in Fairfax City, isn't that?
That is correct.
The post as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how easy is it to get these fellows, particularly from George Mason, or these ladies, from George Mason to join? They're kind of like, they're in school, most of them are working. The VFW is just another commitment.
It is another commitment, but it goes back to, you know, what they're used to. Having an ability to go into something structured, something that they can understand. You know, the command structure of the VFW is similar to the military, as there are, you know, a quartermaster, adjutant, junior vice commander, commander. But the mission's different. It is actually getting out and, you know, serving not only the community, but the veterans in the community and looking out for their welfare. And really the easiest part about it is just the introduction. You know, when I joined the VFW, I always thought it was a bunch of old guys sitting around drinking beer, telling old stories.
That's right.
But it's not. It's actually a service organization, and getting involved actually opened my eyes. I was a member for 2 years before I actually went to my first meeting, but then shortly thereafter I became, you know, the junior vice commander, and then the senior vice commander.
Isn't the mandate in the Army like you never volunteer? I always heard my dad say that, although he was in the Navy. But
Never again volunteer yourself, yes.
That's exactly right. You seem to got hooked into it.
I did, but, you know, it's a labor of love. And that's one of the biggest things. And, you know, Gary can agree. You know, we don't do it because we want to. We do it because it needs to be done. And being elected or nominated for the post really is just they're putting the post in your hands. You know, you are the guiding force for that post for the coming year. And that's a big responsibility, but it's also a big honor.
So I don't think most people realize that the VFW, you said the purpose is not just serving the veterans, but also the community. What kind of community type stuff does the VFW do? Your post is involved, your post is involved.
One of our big programs in the VFW is our Americanism program in the schools. Patriot's Pen and Voice of Democracy and Teacher of the Year. Patriot's Pen is a written essay on a patriotic topic, and Voice of Democracy is a spoken essay. And we go into the schools, we engage the teachers to use these topics in their classes to get the children, the students to write or speak their essay, and then they compete. And they compete at the post level, the district level, the state level, and the national level. And there are awards at each level. At the national level, a high school student who is the winner of Voice of Democracy can win a $30,000 scholarship.
Wow.
And then there's Teacher of the Year. We use that to honor the educators who focus on Americanism and patriotism in their classes. And we also try each year to honor local firefighters, policemen, EMTs, for the service that they provide to the community.
Well, let me ask you about something, because we've got a couple minutes left here. One of the things, and I've seen it a lot on Facebook, there's this 22 a day where it's 22 suicides a day. And people are doing push-ups and different things every single day to raise awareness, which is great for awareness. But how is that actually solving anything? What's available out there for people who feel the need? I recall back in the day when we were really actively in Iraq, there were a lot of issues about the stigma of seeking any kind of help, of showing any kind of weakness. So how is that handled now when you're not in the military? Are there services out there for someone who may be thinking of, this is all too much for me now, or I can't adjust to civilian life?
Well, there's some organized services through the VA Crisis Line, which is a call-in line where people can get help and counseling and real-time services if they're in crisis. Warrior 360 is a private organization that does similar services. And there's also several Facebook, social media outlets out there. What is the one? U.S. Army WTF Moments, and there's a couple of others. These are loosely bound together groups that monitor the postings on their sites. And if they see somebody who is in crisis or is posting things that make them seem like they're in crisis, they'll reach out to them. They'll try to contact them. They'll try to draw them in to talk. And that is one of the most effective ways of helping somebody, is to bring them in and talk it through and find out exactly what they're facing.
Well, in the last 10 seconds, our music has started. I know there are events going on to commemorate Memorial Day. Where can people go to find out what's going on? Well,
there are several events at the post throughout the area. Alexandria will be down in the National Cemetery posting flags. Woodbridge and Dale City will be at Quantico, and there's several others. But at myvfw.org/VA/District 10, you can link to all of the posts in Northern Virginia, and you can find out what's going on.
Okay. Well, we're going to break. Stay with us.
I need a job.
Necesito trabajo.
I would like to speak English better.
Me gustaría hablar inglés mejor.
I want to be a U.S. citizen.
Quisiera ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos.
For over 35 years,
Por más de 35 años,
the Hispanic Committee of Virginia has been serving our community.
el Comité Hispano de Virginia ha estado sirviendo a nuestra comunidad.
Job training and placement,
Capacitación, ayuda para conseguir trabajo,
education for children and adults,
educación para niños y adultos,
immigration, naturalization, and medical referrals.
ayuda para los procesos de inmigración y naturalización y orientación sobre médicos
Are a small part of what we do.
son solo una pequeña parte de lo que hacemos.
For help, information, or to volunteer,
Para ayuda, información o para ofrecerse como voluntario,
contact the Hispanic Committee of Virginia,
comuníquese con el Comité Hispano de Virginia,
helping everyone participate more fully in American society.
ayudando a todos a participar plenamente en la sociedad norteamericana.
Hey, Lena, where's yours?
Would you notice if you were missing half your kidney function? According to the National Kidney Foundation, 20 million people have chronic kidney disease, and 20 million more may be at risk and not even know it. Anyone with high blood pressure, diabetes, or family history of chronic kidney disease is at risk. Early diagnosis is vitally important. get the whole story, talk to your doctor, and visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org or call for a free brochure. Because when it comes to chronic kidney disease, you might not know the half.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your hosts.
Welcome back. This is Inside Scoop Virginia. I'm Bettina Lawton, and I'm your host. And we're continuing to talk VFW, but this time we're going to talk the auxiliary. And we haven't ever had anybody from the auxiliary on before, so I'm very excited to be able to introduce you to two wonderful women. To my immediate left is Patricia Jurgenson. She is the VFW Auxiliary National Recruiter. She retired from the Department of Homeland Security after 42 years of service there. She is the National Certified Trainer for the VFW. She's Secretary to the VFW Auxiliary to District 10. She's the Secretary and Treasurer to the Auxiliary for Post 609 in Alexandria. And to her left is Betty Gimble. She is the President, the boss of VFW Auxiliary District 10. She joined the auxiliary in 1994 under the eligibility of her husband, who is a Vietnam veteran. So, Betty, I wanted to ask you, last year at this time, this was known as the VFW Ladies Auxiliary, and it's now called the Auxiliary, the VFW Auxiliary. So, men can now join. So how controversial was that move? I mean, the VFW is kind of an old organization. One would think a little history bound. Was there a lot of controversy when we did that?
Yes. Originally there was. The auxiliary was 100 years old, and a lot of the ladies didn't want to give up that history. They was afraid we'd lose it. But last year, by the time we did, it was passed, I think everybody had accepted it and was ready.
So how did District 10 go about implementing this then?
Well, mainly the auxiliaries in the District 10. There's 8 auxiliaries, and each of them did their recruiting. Several of us had men's auxiliaries. So a lot of the men's auxiliary, we would talk to them, and they voluntarily surrendered their charters and joined the auxiliary.
Okay, and so in the district, how has that, the auxiliary is now how big?
Like I said, we have 8 auxiliaries and we have a little over 1,000 members.
Okay, pretty good. And what does the auxiliary do? Because it's one of those phrases that you're sort of like, exactly what are we supposed to be doing in the auxiliary?
We are supporting the VFW.
Okay.
We have the same programs that they have, the Americanism, the Buddy Poppies. We visit the hospitals, the VA hospitals, nursing homes. We also do the Patriots Pen, VOD, and the auxiliary has a Patriotic Arts contest. That's for the high school kids to do a drawing. And we have auxiliary level and state level, and then it goes to national. And last year, for the first time, the Virginian winner was 7th in the nation.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good.
Yes, it is. We're very proud of it.
That is very good. So if schools want to get involved in these educational programs, these contests, how do they do that? Can they approach an auxiliary, or do they have to wait, or how does it work?
They can call their local post. Sometimes they'll call national headquarters or send an email, and then national headquarters will contact the auxiliary that's closest to the student and get involved that way.
And can anybody participate at the student level, so that you, as long as you're in whatever the school is, I guess you can be homeschooled?
You can also be homeschooled, yes. Yeah, the VOD is for high school students, Patriots Pen is for middle school, and Patriotic Arts is also for high school.
Now, I was surprised when I read in the auxiliary qualifications for members that you had to be a citizen in order to join. Can non-citizen students, because we have a lot of those in Fairfax, can non-citizen students participate in these contests, or do you have to be citizens? Or has nobody asked the question before?
I don't recall them ever having a citizenship requirement for the VOD. Because they're not members of the organization, so any student, and also homeschooled students can join too or participate. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when are those done in the school year? Is that something that you've got to be, if a school teacher was interested in participating in this, is this something that's got to be ready to go come September, or is it something done in the spring? How does that work?
It's due to the post, the VOD and Patriots Pen is due, the VOD is Voice of Democracy. Mm-hmm. They're due to the post by November the 1st.
Okay, so it's kind of a first semester effort.
Yes. The Patriotic Art is not due until March 31st, so they have all school year to...
Okay. Okay, so let me ask you something else that you mentioned about, and that's hospital visits. Mm-hmm. So can anybody help? Because I saw something that said non-members could help. Did they let you into the hospitals?
We encourage non-members. We have the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, some of the school kids need credit for community service.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yes, and they'll come and go with us, and the patients love to see the students.
So if somebody, because I've had people in the community say to me at various times, because of my son being injured, how do you get to go visit people that they're interested, but they're not in an organization? Can an individual person just call up, and how do you make sure it's not some crazy person?
Well, I'm not sure if anyone can go. I know when we go, we all have to sign in. So we are careful about the people that we do take with us. Okay. And we do have to sign in down at the hospital.
Okay. And is this Bethesda that people go to, or where do people go in this area since Walter Reed's not around anymore?
Well, I know McLean and goes to Martinsburg in West Virginia, which is just up by Winchester, Virginia.
We support the same hospital.
Well, that's a ways away.
Yeah, I think Arlington 3150 goes to DC. Dale City goes to McGuire down in Richmond.
So does each post auxiliary sort of adopt a particular hospital that they go to? Is that how this works?
There's one in Salem, for instance, further south.
Right, and
so
one
there's
in
5
Hampton,
VA hospitals.
So it depends on where you're located. And like I know at Dale City, we go the second Saturday of every other month. We're starting in February. So we have a regular time and date to go, because with all the auxiliaries, we have 100 auxiliaries, and they're all trying to visit the same hospitals, so we have dates set up.
Okay.
They play bingo. The veterans.
What do they do in the hospital?
We do bingo. We have casino night with them. We do karaoke.
Oh, good
They
Lord.
love karaoke.
Really?
Yes.
That could set them back in their treatment. Depending on who's singing, that could be a definite problem.
And those that are in the spinal cord unit, usually we visit them at their bedside and take them treats and talk with them. I have written letters for those veterans that can't write to their home, and I go and I'll mail them to the family members so they have some kind of contact. It's kind of rewarding to do this.
I had read in connection with like nursing homes that they love to have pets in there. Do they allow you to bring pets? I guess it's in a hospital they wouldn't want you to do that.
You'd have to check
the requirements. Yeah, because we're not taking pets with us.
Okay.
But now at Christmas when we go, we do take Christmas cards and stamps, and we go to the rooms and address Christmas cards to their families, or we leave the cards for them if they want to do it that way. So
good. Well, let me ask then, because Patricia, you're the national recruiter here.
To train people how to recruit.
Okay, so who is eligible, first of all? Because not everybody. We've already established you have to be a citizen.
You're a citizen, and you have to be at the age of 16.
Okay.
And that be eligible under a VFW member. So by that, the veteran would have served overseas in combat or overseas in an operational conflict, and they would have earned a campaign medal, or they received hostile pay or danger pay. And interestingly enough, the Korean War veteran period is still open. So if they're served in Korea for 30 consecutive days or 60 non-consecutive days after June 30, 1949, members can still join under the Korean conflict.
Wow.
And a lot of people aren't aware of that, but they can. So that's the eligibility.
Now, does the person who is the actual veteran have to belong to the VFW for you to belong to an auxiliary?
No, it'd be nice, you'd wonder why, but a member would use the veteran's eligibility paper to join, but the veteran himself or herself does not need to belong to the post. Many do, though.
Okay. So why should somebody join? In this area, you've got families, because if you're not the veteran, you have to be in some kind of a family unit for this. There's a lot of things. I mean, you got to get your kids to soccer, you got to do homework, you got, all of this type of stuff. So what is it that makes somebody join? I mean, you all have been members for a long time. Why did you guys join?
I joined to honor my brother and my brother-in-law, both Vietnam veterans, and I was a teenager. I didn't quite understand the war, and so to give back to them, I joined, and will always continue to work till I'm no longer here. But people, when you're out recruiting, there are so many family members that say, I'm too busy, I don't have the time. But I remind them that by being a member, that they would still be an active member, that they would stand by our veterans and the military community when trying to either pass or defeat legislation by Congress. They're still eligible for all the benefits we offer. They can still come to the post home and enjoy the social events. Their children are welcome. Most people don't realize the amount of benefits that we offer, from health, life, the long-term care, the charge cards, the discounts at stores if you're a member. And so usually by the time we go through the list, they are receptive to joining.
Well, it's I guess, what's the process then to join? Can you just show up at a post and say, I want to join?
Of course you can. You can fill out the application, but the process is basically the application doesn't take you more than 10 minutes to fill out. The piece that may be a delay is getting the eligibility of the veteran if he's not a member of the post home, and then submit the package to the auxiliary. They review it to make sure it's complete and the person is eligible, and then the auxiliary votes at the next meeting, and then they're notified. So normally, Betty, 4 to 6 weeks after their application, they will hear something.
Okay. You've been involved in leadership for a long time. We've got 30 seconds left. So how does someone get into the leadership of the auxiliary?
They run for office, basically.
Volunteer, they raise their hand and volunteer.
They run for office, the office of the president or secretary, the treasurer or the junior or senior, it becomes vacant. And any member in good standing, which means you've paid your dues, you can run for office.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I want to thank you both for coming and sharing your views on the auxiliary for the first time we've have everybody here. So I want to thank you all, and please, everyone, stay with us. We will be right back. We're going to talk about the Veterans Treatment Docket next segment.
I helped turn my child's public school into a whole new kind of school. One with a curriculum that really motivates kids. One that has extended hours, 6 days a week, year-round. With loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One that has support services like medical and dental right there. A school where parents' involvement is encouraged. Where teachers have more time to teach. And students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. You can help turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
It's coming. Right to your neighborhood. And when it does, you may be surprised. It's your Social Security statement of your benefits, and it's going to help you plan your financial future. Your benefit statement will tell you how much Social Security you're eligible to receive and when you'll get it. Then you'll know how much you need to save for retirement, because that's coming too. The future is in your hands. Choose to save.
The toxic fumes from this meth lab are seeping into Jamie's sinus cavity. Ammonia vapors invade her throat. Toxic gases fill her lungs. Jamie's body is deteriorating. And she doesn't even know it.
Jamie, dinner.
So, who has the drug problem now? Find out how meth affects you at drugfree.org/.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back. I'm Bettina Lawton, and I'm your host. This is Inside Scoop Virginia, and we are here to talk about the Veteran Treatment Docket, which is being run in the Fairfax court system in the General District Court. And we're very pleased tonight to have an encore appearance by Don Northcutt. He is to my immediate left. He is recently gotten promoted, I suppose, to the docket coordinator. Don is a Vietnam War veteran. He served in the Air Force from 1968 to 71. And to his left is Tom Davis, who has some very large shoes to fill because he has Don's old job. He is the mentor coordinator for the Veterans Treatment Docket, and he was in the Navy from 1968 to 1995. So welcome both. We've got
Good to be back.
We've got an encore and we've got a brand new person, so hopefully it'll all go well. So Don, tell me, how did it get started and who was involved?
Well, here in Fairfax County, Judge Piniaz Karate in 2013 saw around the United States there were veterans treatment programs beginning in courts, and they were being very successful. And she thought, let's do that here in Fairfax County. And she began putting together a team of all those agencies that normally are adversarial in the courtroom to turn them into collegial partners in this. And it has worked.
So these are people like the county attorney's office or the Commonwealth attorney and the sheriff and the police and legal aid.
The public defenders, CSB. The sheriff, so that entire group, and we have a very collaborative team that works on this.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because this is the question that I hear about veterans treatment dockets. You hear about any kind of specialized docket, right? Why should veterans get special treatment? I mean, there's that old, you do the crime, you do the time. Why shouldn't they have to do that?
Well, in many cases, doing the time is the easiest part. If I say to you, or a judge says to you, you can do 7 days in jail and maybe see probation a couple times a month, you may do that. But if I say to you, you're going to be involved in a 12 to 18 month treatment program, which has twice weekly visits to the probation officer and urinalysis and mental health treatment and substance abuse treatment. And at the end of that 12 to 18 month program will perhaps resolve some of your problems, which is the easiest to do.
True. So these folks who are in there are highly motivated to get better from whatever it is.
Yes.
And is that the theory, that there's something? I mean, had they previously been involved? Anybody who had like a previous conviction, or are they eligible to be on this?
Yes, they may be in it. Often they are. They do have previous convictions because there's a cycle that begins, and unless something is done to break that cycle, and we do it through treatment, the cycle's just going to continue and continue and continue.
So who is actually eligible for this then? You have to be a veteran, obviously.
You have to be a veteran.
Do you have to have been diagnosed with PTSD or TBI or have some kind of physical injury from the war, or just be a veteran?
As part of the intake procedure, each individual is assessed, looking for those high-need, high-risk individuals who display PTSD, perhaps there is a traumatic brain injury, drug or substance abuse. Looking for the cause of the criminal behavior.
Okay. So, Tom, tell us, why is there a mentoring thing? Why can't it just be show up twice a week, do your urine sample, and go on back to your job?
Well, that's what makes our program so special, okay? My job as the mentor coordinator is to try to match mentors with specific veterans that they'll be relying on throughout the 12 to 18 months of treatment. Now, the purpose of the mentor is to provide personal personal treatment to the veteran. Okay, I try to match the mentor to the veteran. For example, we try to make sure that they're the same service, Army, Navy, or whatever. If the veteran has been involved in combat, we try to match a mentor that has been in combat so they understand the feelings that veteran has gone through. And then we also try to match other personality traits, okay, so that they become a team. And that's the purpose for them to become a team for the next 12 to 18 months. The purpose of the mentor is to be the guiding light, so to say, for that veteran as he goes through the treatment over that next 12 to 18 months.
So is it like a buddy? Or like, I guess AA has sponsors? Is that what the kind of
It's all the
thing
above, okay? There's a lot more professionalism involved between the mentor and the veteran because they're really in a different type of lifestyle. You know, less than 1% of the people in the United States have ever served in the military. So you have to have somebody that understands what the military was like, what it was like to serve in the military, and if what did involve combat, what it's like to serve in a combat situation.
Right. Well, that's actually great because as you say, if you haven't been in combat, you don't really have a clue. You can't sit there and watch.
That's right.
You know, something on a movie and think about it.
The effects of combat are vary from individual to individual. Okay, and some people it's very traumatic, and other people it's not traumatic at the time, but as they get older, they start to have the dreams and they start to come back. The combat experience starts to come back. So, and we also have veterans that have never been in combat. So we try to match our mentors to the experiences of that veteran so that they will be able to help each other over the next 18 months.
So the program's been going on for a while. How many people have gone through it, and did everybody finish?
Well, we began in February of 2014 now, with 2015, I'm sorry.
Okay. I was thinking, wow, that time flies.
So a little 16 months now. We began with 5 veterans. 2 very quickly decided that it wasn't for them, because this is an entirely voluntary program. And of the original 3, we have 2 who will be graduating later this week. They've completed 16 months of the program, and they've completed the program. Right now we have 11 veterans involved, and it looks like we'll be adding at least 1 each month. Wow. So my expectation is that by middle of the summer, end of the summer, we'll be up to probably 15, and then by the end of the year, I hope we have 20.
Wow. And now, is this increase just because people are more familiar with it, or where
again,
is this
I think it's one
from?
of these all of the above. I think we've reached a critical mass of experience and knowledge, and also that we have a sufficient reputation now that the community and the legal community recognizes what we're doing. Also throughout the rest of the Commonwealth, we have visitors come from other jurisdictions to see what we're doing as they are interested in creating a veterans treatment docket.
Okay, so Tom, you've now got possibly 15 people in this program. Do you have mentors for all of them? That's a big step up. You do?
In fact, we have more mentors than we have veterans.
Really?
My challenge is to make sure that we try to get all the mentors involved to some sort. In fact, we have so many mentors now that in some cases we assign 2 mentors to each one of the veterans, okay? To give the mentor some experience and also to give the veteran more capability to be able to solve his problems. You know, mentoring is not just going to court, okay? Mentors are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the veteran, okay? And having been a mentor for a veteran, let me tell you that you do use that time up. And there are lots of areas that the mentor can help in. For example, we have a couple of veterans that have transportation problems. The mentor will try to find transportation or provide transportation themselves, either for the court dates or for actual treatment. A lot of the treatment is done downtown in Washington, D.C., and if you don't have a car, it's hard. Okay, we've had several veterans that have had homeless issues. Okay, and we've had veterans mentors that stepped in and provided the conduit to be able to find them places to stay while they're still in the program.
So I know that your post, 8469, handles a mentor fund. There's a fund there for mentors. Yes. What is that money used for?
Because the VFW post is tax deductible, they created a part of their budget that so that we can accept donations from the public. The court can't accept donations, right, but the mentors can. And we've used the funds for temporary shelter needs, for clothing, transportation, as Tom said, and just temporary, immediate needs that we can address. And housing, as you can well imagine up here in this area, there is a shortage of temporary shelter beds in Northern Virginia. And that is a critical need that is hard to forecast. Suddenly someone needs a bed. Right. Where do you put them?
Well, are the mentors paid?
No.
No.
So this is all volunteer?
All volunteer.
Wow.
In some cases, the mentors have used their own money to help out the veteran as best they could, and were not paid back.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot of commitment. That's a lot of commitment.
Well, I think people that serve in the military, especially for long periods of time, there becomes a brotherhood. And so when one of your own gets in trouble, a lot of people step forward to try to help.
Well, how many, by the way, women are in this program? Have any women gone through it? Do you have women mentors?
Yes, to both.
Okay.
We have one woman who came in near the beginning, and she has been in the program and she is progressing. And we've had actually 3 women mentors as well, and they've been very valuable. And they veterans all.
Okay, excellent. How can people help in their in the next 10 seconds? Can you tell me, can they go to the Post website if they want to contribute? How do they do that?
They can, on Facebook, they can go to Fairfax Veteran Mentors. Online, they can go to fairfaxveteranmentors.org.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming and updating us on where you stand with the treatment docket, and we'll keep an eye out, and hopefully it'll continue to have success over the next year. We're going to be taking another break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about Vietnam veterans and veteran employment. Stay with us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming back.
Some dreams are universal. Dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org. or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
What's wrong with this picture? Half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Geography is everywhere. It's incredible creatures, rhythm, fashion, flavor. It's economics and politics. It's change. Understanding connections between people and places is critical in the 21st century. That's why we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free parent and teacher action kits and give our kids the power of global knowledge. Because kids who understand our world today can succeed in it tomorrow.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your hosts.
Welcome back. I'm Bettina Lawton. I'm your host. This is Inside Scoop Virginia, and this is our Veterans Program. And we are now going to be talking about Vietnam veterans, particularly Vietnam Veterans of America. We have with us Bruce Waxman. He served during the Vietnam War from 1968 to 69. He is president of the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 227, which covers all of Northern Virginia and little parts of other counties. We also have with us to talk about veterans employment, Kia Hamel. She is a U.S. Navy veteran. She served from 94 to 98. She was among the first women to serve on an aircraft carrier where she was an operations specialist. And she is also an Uber military spokesman. And she's going to talk to us about what Uber has been doing to try and improve the employment and employability of veterans. So welcome both. This is your maiden voyage, I know, for Kia, I think. I know you've been on other shows here, Bruce, but not on mine. So thank you so much for coming tonight to talk about this. Bruce, Vietnam Veterans of America. How long have you been a member?
At least 20 years.
Okay. So why? Why did you join the Vietnam Veterans of America?
Well, I joined the Vietnam Veterans of America because it's a special organization of people with the like kinds of experience. And I felt that it would be good for me to have that kind of camaraderie. And also because the Vietnam Veterans of America does a lot for veterans in general. In fact, our guiding principle, founding principle is never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. So not only do we serve Vietnam veterans, we serve all veterans.
Well, and the motto, I think, for those of us who were around at the end of the Vietnam War is telling, because you did not get a great reception when you were coming back. Was there a sense that you had to have your own organization? Were the other ones, the American Legions, the VFWs, not welcoming?
They could have been more welcoming. I really would prefer to look forward to what we're doing now rather than dwell on the past, but they could have been more welcoming, and also the types of activities that some of these organizations were engaged in consisted mainly of social activities, sitting at the bar, and we were more interested in getting things done, particularly to deal with our own issues that we had when we came back, Agent Orange, PTSD, things of this nature, and so we just decided to get down to business.
So how big is the Vietnam Veterans of America?
About 50,000 nationally, and we have about 275 members here locally.
Okay, so and that's in your particular chapter, 227.
Correct.
Okay, so what does your chapter actually do then?
Well, we do a number of things. We have a speakers program. Every month we have a speaker at our meetings. We had a woman who was in Iraq who wrote a book called I Love My Rifle More Than You. We've had speakers about Dien Bien Phu. We had a guy from the CIA talk about his experience in Laos. We had a Jewish World War II POW who was in Germany. For that, we actually had, I think, more non-members come to the meeting because our meetings are open to the public. Okay. We meet on the third Thursday of every month at Neighbors Restaurant in Vienna. It's open to the public. Our last meeting, we gave awards for the Vince Casper Prizes for Excellence in the Arts, which is a contest in its 20th. We just finished our 20th year of giving awards to high school juniors and seniors who either go to school or live in our area for poetry and fine arts. And next speaker will be Chuck Harris, our treasurer, who is going to talk about the 3 lives of a Vietnam helicopter pilot.
The 3 lives of a Vietnam helicopter pilot?
You'll have to come to find out what that is because I don't know either.
Okay. So what time do your meetings start on the third Thursday?
Our meetings are at 7:30.
Okay.
You can come at 6:30, order from the menu at the restaurant, and then the meeting starts at 7:30. We have a brief business part of the meeting, and then we have the speaker questions. Many of these speakers have written books, so there'll be a book signing, and that's how it goes.
Okay, it actually sounds pretty interesting. Now, when the VFW folks were on earlier in the show, they talked about their school contests and things, and they were all patriotism-related themes. On your performance in the Arts Award, does that have a specific theme every year? Patriotism and democracy stuff?
No, it doesn't, because this is more of a community service program to serve the community. So basically, the criteria are originality, craft, just showing that you can write a good poem or produce good artwork. And we've had some tremendous poems and artwork. In fact, one year, I was, one of the students couldn't come to read her poetry because we have them read the poetry. And she sent the teacher. I looked at the teacher, I said, gee, you look really familiar, but I don't know how I would know you. And she said to me, oh, I was one of your first winners.
Wow.
And then we've had some artists who have actually gone on to, while they were in college, get commissions to produce art for pay. So the level of talent is really good in this area, and we like to promote it because we think there's more to high school activities than just playing sports.
Excellent. I like it. Now, how much does the Veterans of Foreign, the Vietnam veterans, do they now collaborate with other veterans organizations? I think there was some kind of veterans coalition or
yeah, it's called the Veterans Collaborative Serving Together. It started in Montgomery County, Maryland. Okay. It's now in Fairfax, and it's moving into Loudoun County as well. And basically, it consists of government agencies, veteran service organizations, and other nonprofits. And we try to learn from each other about what the various services are that we have and work together. And it includes the Disabled American Veterans, us, many organizations, and so we use this as a way of serving veterans. Our own organization has a fund that's from our fund, something called like, I don't know, just-in-time fund. And we find that there are many situations, and of course usually comes to us at the last minute, where somebody needs something and there's no government program or other place, they don't meet the eligibility requirements. So we've paid for car repairs. We've paid for deposits for apartments. We have paid for Metro fare cards, telephone cards for people, a washer and a dryer, things of that nature, uniforms for people to go to training for jobs, and all kinds of things that just otherwise would fall through the cracks. Recently, we raised a substantial amount of money from our members to pay for somebody who was a veteran but got blown up as a civilian in Afghanistan, embedded with the military, and because he was on drugs and other problems, although he's been clean now, he was in danger of losing his home because he fell behind in his payments. And so we were able to help him pay off his loan. And his daughter tried to commit suicide, so we also paid her disability, the deductible for her. So we try to, as I said, our motto is never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. And all of these veterans, for most of these veterans, are not Vietnam veterans.
Okay. Well, let me turn to Kia, because you were, obviously, I said at the beginning, one of the first women on an aircraft carrier. So what was that experience like? Do you recommend military service for women?
Well, first of all, thanks, Bettina, for having me on your show, and I really appreciate you drawing attention to this, because I do feel like female veterans are underrepresented, and I think it's very important that we bring light to the people that did serve. And needless to say, my experience aboard ship was very interesting. It was an eye-opener. It was a growing experience for me. There were, of course, mixed views and opinions about women being aboard combatants at that time, from 1994 to 1998. And at the same time, you're going and you're visiting other countries in the world and being an ambassador for the United States. It was definitely an experience that I will treasure for the rest of my life. And of course, I think that more and more women need to serve and enlist, because the military brings out the best in us all, and it trains you to be your best self mentally and physically.
Wow, that's an endorsement. Now, you worked in radar. You did something with radar. I have no real clue what it was. I just know that you said it was radar. That's not a job that sounds like it would translate well into the private sector. Not like, folks who are like military police, like we had a fellow from the VFW. So what have you done since you got out of the military in '98?
Well, put simply, yes. I was an operations specialist, third class, and essentially I operated the radar, yes. So it was not a lateral position in the civilian community when I got out. So once I was honorably discharged in 1998, I immediately went back to get my bachelor's degree in communications from Old Dominion. And, you know, it was a very difficult transition because of that. After I got my degree in 2001, the economy was, you know, not very good, and it was difficult. So I worked a lot of different jobs. My husband, who was actually active duty also at the time, moved every 2 years, and it became increasingly difficult with each duty station to obtain any type of long-term employment. So it was a challenge, and I wanted to you know, work for the civil service because I thought that that was the easiest thing to transfer, and it just didn't pan out that way.
So you're with Uber. So you went with Uber. Uber's got some military program that they're doing. Tell us about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. In 2014, November, Uber announced and launched its initiative, which was Uber Military. And Uber has a commitment to help veterans, military families, because they understand the significance. Some of your other guests earlier in the show talked about the suicide rate, the unemployment. People have talked about various you know, challenges that veterans, active duty people face. And so in response to that, Uber's launched this initiative to get transitioning veterans into jobs. And so that's the Uber Military Division. So we're very proud of that, and we want to help also military spouses. Blue Star Families surveyed many of the military spouses, and 58% of military spouses want to be employed. And unfortunately, because their loved one is serving and deployed many of the times, you don't fit into a traditional 9-to-5 job. Right. Your children get sick, the car breaks down, various things happen, and sometimes you just can't be in the office in your seat every day at that time. So one thing that's very attractive about Uber Military is that it's very flexible, and you can make, you know, your work schedule around that, you know, whatever your needs may be at that day, at that time or that day, and it's good for spouses.
Well, give us, is there a website you can give us in 5 seconds?
Absolutely. It would be www.uber.com and sign up to drive.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and telling us about it, telling us about the Vietnam Veterans Association. Remember, Monday is Veterans Day, so do something good to veterans.